High winds in the Toyota Prius. How does it do? We've got 30 mile an hour sustained wind and 40 mile an hour gusts here in South Texas today. But we're gonna go for a ride. We're gonna see how it is in the wind. It's let down a little bit. We're gonna get out in the open because I'm curious to see if we get a lot of noise, even more noise than a lot of people complain about inside the car, and how it handles in high wind conditions. All right, we're out here driving around in this windstorm. I guess it's just wind. It's bringing in a lot of warm air into South Texas. It's 80 degrees here now, so quite comfortable. Had to go back to the sleeveless shirts. Didn't have to, but wanted to. But anyway, this isn't about apparel. First thing I noticed with the wind in the Prius, sitting at a stoplight, I did not feel the car rocking around. You know, I've got trucks. Well, I have a Toyota Tacoma and a Jeep Wrangler, and you feel them moving when you're sitting in this kind of wind, right? Because they're not very low profile. This is basically a wedge on the road. Still, you could catch wind from side to side, right? But I didn't notice any rocking, nothing crazy like that. So that's pretty nice. You don't get that unsettled feeling. Now, driving down the road, as I mentioned earlier, we're experiencing 30 mile an hour wind, 40 to 45 mile an hour wind gusts. And I'm driving out here in the open now, not shielded where I was before when we started off the video. You might be able to catch, if you look in the sides here, some of the brush and stuff blowing around. Definitely a high wind. So how does it feel so far on the road? Pretty darn stable. I don't feel anything buffeting me around as I'm driving, which, yeah, I don't know that I'm overly surprised. Again, the car is basically a wedge, right? I mean, you shouldn't feel it blowing all over. You know, if you've driven a higher profile vehicle, then you know that you have to constantly correct the steering wheel when you're driving in these kind of conditions. Now, right now, the way the wind is blowing is kind of from the back across the car. It's kind of almost diagonally across the car. So I should be feeling a little bit of steering correction now and then if it was really catching on the rear end. We're going to change direction here in just a sec. We're going to head more this way, and that means we're going to catch a lot of wind from the rear of the car. And that's where I'm going to be interested to see if I hear anything more. You know, you can hear a lot of road noise now, and that's, I think, probably the biggest and maybe the only real complaint against the Toyota Prius, and that is road noise. Of course, to keep the car lighter, they had to cut down on insulation, sound insulation and stuff, so it makes sense that we're going to hear more in this car as we're driving around. All right, now we're basically traveling with the wind. This is where I wish I had a sail, you know. If I had a sail I could extend, we'd be getting really excellent fuel economy. I am running on EV right now too, so the engine is not running at all. Everything that you hear right now is either wind noise, which I don't really hear any, or road noise from the tires smacking the pavement. So pretty good. We're going to take a turn here in a second where the wind is going to be more coming at us. That is another area that I'm going to be interested to see or hear if we get any more wind sound coming up against the front of the car. I would suspect that it's going to just ride right over the front. I mean, that's how this is kind of designed, right? To just cut right through the air, and it should be able to just cut right through the wind. Here we go, little quick turn, and now we are actually, you know what, the wind is now actually, I think it's shifted. It's coming from the driver's side rear across the front of the car. So we're still not pointed into the wind. We're going to have to make another left turn, which I will do in just a minute. But if you listen, you can hear a little bit of wind now, kind of on the outside of the car. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm not sure what the wind is catching. Could be the mirror right beside you guys over here, or could even be something more back on the doors. kind of sounds like a rattle, but it's not a rattle. There are no rattly noises in this car. That's a good example right there. We're getting a lot of wind noise right now with the wind coming from the driver's or to the driver's side of the car. Much more than we had before. It's almost coming right against the side of the car now. The wind is shifting a little bit, so it's kind of blowing almost right across us now. Still good for the steering wheel. It's not pushing the car so much that I feel the wheel, or the car rather, trying to go right. I'm not having to make corrections, although I will say I do feel the need for a firmer pressure against the steering wheel, kind of in that direction. So I noticed that a little bit. That's a really picky thing though. Nothing that is going to drive me nuts. Now we're right out in the open, so have a listen here. Definitely can hear more wind noise there than what we've heard before. So, as I mentioned, we're approaching a stoplight. We're going to turn left. I want to drive what should be directly into the wind, unless it changes again from everything I'm seeing blowing around up in front of me here. We should be driving straight in. Now, before we do that, another thing I want to mention about the sound of this car. I'm being very picky in this video. So far, it's been awesome. Unless you're very, very sensitive to sound, you shouldn't really have any issues, I don't think, with the noise that we're getting from this windstorm. You're probably going to be sensitive to the road noise, but that's something that you cannot avoid with the Toyota Prius. It's just the way it is. So, something you're going to have to get used to. Now, we're turning left. Here we go. We're going to be driving directly into the wind right now. We're going to get up to 55 into wind that's coming right directly at us, maybe slightly off to the passenger side. Let's listen. I don't really hear too much of anything there. It's not bad at all. It's probably quieter a little bit now than it was when the wind was coming across the car from the side. Now, when will you notice this? Yeah, you know, it depends on what part of the country you're in. We get a lot of wind down here. If you're in a thunderstorm, obviously you're going to have a lot of wind, but if it's pouring down rain, you're probably not going to notice the sound of the wind. It would definitely be the handling, if you will, of the car in that stronger weather. So, I don't know, not a big deal for me. I don't really notice any issues. Definitely smoother than what you would get in a truck or an SUV. So I'm very happy with that. Leave a comment. Let me know if you found anything surprising about your Toyota Prius, the way that it drives, the sounds of it, anything like that, if you've gotten one of the new models. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.